So we celebrate this solemnity of Jesus Christ, the King of the universe. Now, just as let you know a little bit about this solemnity, it is the last Sunday of the year. Next week, we start the beginning of the new liturgical year. For those of you who are unsure how the liturgical year works, we go from the first Sunday of Advent to the last Sunday in ordinary time, or last Saturday, rather. And so as part of this, then we'll begin a new series of readings. So we have a 3-year cycle, and they're named years A, B, and C. C, that's the third one. And so we're just finishing year A. Year A, the bulk of the Gospels are taken from the Gospel of Matthew. Year B, the bulk of the Gospels are taken from the Gospel of Mark, although that's a much shorter Gospel, so there's a lot more John thrown in there. And then year C, the bulk of the Gospels are taken from Luke. So we're just finishing up a year of really reading through most of the Gospel of Matthew. And now next week we're going to start with the Gospel of Mark and work our way through that. And you're saying, why are you telling me this? Just so that you can have a better understanding of what we do at church. This is not my homily, though. I want to look, though, at the fact that we are coming to the end of the liturgical year. And I know many people out there are saying, 2020, good riddance. We want to have this in our hindsight because 2020, right, hindsight is 2020. We want that to be... I'm a dad. I give dad jokes. Thank you very much. But so many people want 2020 to be over, and I get it. It's been a very, very difficult year on so many different levels and in so many different spheres of our lives. And we may be saying, let's just start this new year as if 2021 is going to be all that much better. We don't know. We don't know. What we do know, and what I can tell you, as we celebrate this today, Jesus Christ is King of the universe. This is our feast day today. Jesus Christ is not only King of the universe, He's King of the world. He's King of our country. He's King of New Hampshire. He's the King of Pelham. And He wants to be King in our hearts. The question isn't, is Jesus King? The question is, do we recognize Him? In the gospel today, we hear about these groups, they don't recognize Him. Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or naked or in prison and not minister to your needs? When did we see you like this? And He says, whenever you ministered to these least of the brothers of mine, when you didn't do it, you did it or you didn't do it to me. And it takes work to be able to recognize Jesus. Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta worked so hard in order to be able to recognize Christ in each person. And in fact, she would often say there's a 5-word prayer, you did it to me. And so she as she would go and see Christ in His distressing disguise of the poor, she would go and reach out and show incredible love to those most poor, most destitute. There's a story about some reporter watching her take care of some incredibly sick person who had maggots infesting some of the sores, and she was cleaning them out and taking care of him. And the reporter looked at her and said, I wouldn't do that for $1 million. And Mother Teresa looked at the reporter and said, I wouldn't do it for $1 million either. She did it because she saw Christ in that person. So what does this have to do with what I was saying earlier about wanting 2020 to be done? The question is, do we have the eyes to see Christ? In the poor, in the sick, in the lonely, those places. But do we also have the eyes to see Christ in our lives in 2020? He has not abandoned us. He has been with us this whole time. But we could be, passing through our lives and saying, let's get this over with. Instead of saying, Jesus is right here, right now, where I am at. Even in the midst of my struggles. Right here, right now. What a shame it would be if we were to come before our Lord on the last judgment and he said, why did you not embrace all of the opportunities I gave you in 2020? And we say, yeah, but there was COVID. Yeah, but there were these political issues. Yeah, but there was this, there was that, all these things. And we're trying to get past it instead of saying, but Christ is here in this moment. King, Lord, in this moment. Do we have eyes to see? Do we have eyes to recognize his presence, even his love, moving in our midst? For those of you who are doing the 33 days to morning glory in preparation for consecrating yourself to Jesus through Mary, if you've been able to keep up, you would have known that this week, right now, we are reading through the Mother Teresa section of the 33 days. And at the beginning of the week, she talks, Father Michael Gately talks about how Mother Teresa very specifically says that when we are suffering, tired, lonely, when we are discouraged, when we're in the midst of our trials and tribulations, it's not that Jesus is far away from us, but rather he's closest to us. He's reaching down to kiss us. She says, look at the cross. His head is bent towards us. Look at his arms. They're out to embrace us. And when we're united with him in his suffering, it's because we're close enough for him to kiss us. These things, she says, are the kiss of Christ. She then goes on to say, she was talking to a woman who suffered greatly, and she said, tell Jesus to stop kissing me. And that's a normal reaction. None of us like suffering. None of us want to be dealing with these things. But the question is not whether we have to deal with them or not, because suffering is coming. It always comes. Because we're alive in a broken world, we suffer. The question is, can we recognize Christ's kiss in the midst of that trial? And instead of rejecting his kiss, pushing him away, allow him to embrace us. And so, my sisters and brothers, as we come very quickly to the end of this liturgical year, I invite you to look back over the course of this last year. Certainly it's been an unprecedented year. Actually, I was talking to somebody the other day that said they had a T-shirt that said, I'm waiting expectantly for precedented times, as we're in unprecedented times right now. Yes, we want precedented times again. Yes, that would be great. But as we look back over this year in these unprecedented times, can we recognize where Jesus has been moving in our lives? And maybe we can look and see these are the areas where I've not accepted the call that he's given, as we've not been able to, for instance, do all the wonderful things we wanted to do, which meant we had extra free time. Are we using that for prayer? Are we using that to get closer to our family? Or are we kind of rejecting it and pushing things away, pushing people away and turning into our devices or to our own things, or rejecting God and shouting at him or shaking our fist? Are we accepting The cross is where we're at. And recognizing in this moment, I'm experiencing the kiss of Jesus. Help me, Jesus, to allow you to kiss me, to embrace you, to draw me close to your heart, because you really are King of the universe. You've got our backs. You're taking care of everything if we but surrender to you.